Once upon a time, in the remote village of Edeh, nestled deep in the heart of a dense forest, there lived a peaceful and thriving community. The villagers were close-knit, bound by generations of tradition, family, and a shared belief in the divine. They lived simple lives, farming, trading, and attending church every Sunday. Life in Edeh was pure, untouched by the darkness of the world outside, until the sickness came. It began subtly at first, with a few villagers falling ill, weakness in their limbs, fever, and a strange blackening of their skin. It wasn't long before the illness spread, creeping into every corner of the village like a shadow. No one knew its origin, but it seemed to claim more lives with each passing day. People died in their homes, in their beds, their eyes wide open in terror. The local healer, an elderly woman known for her wisdom and potions, tried everything, but nothing worked. Desperation set in, and the village became a place of sorrow, the smell of death lingering in the air. Then, on a stormy night, a man appeared at the village gates. He wore a long, flowing black robe and carried a Bible, his presence commanding attention. His name was Pastor Adama. He arrived in the dead of night, seeking refuge from the storm. The villagers, desperate and with nothing to lose, invited him in. They had heard of pastors who could heal through the power of faith, but this man seemed different. He was solemn, his eyes dark and brooding, yet his voice carried a warmth that promised salvation. Pastor Adama told them that he had been sent by God to heal their land. He claimed to have been blessed with supernatural powers, powers that allowed him to see into the hearts of men, to speak the words of life and healing, to cure the sick with the laying of hands. The villagers, hopeful and willing to try anything, welcomed him with open arms. The first miracle occurred the very next morning. A young woman named Nkechi, pale and feverish with the sickness, was brought to the pastor. Her family was ready to give up on her, but Pastor Adama placed his hands on her forehead, murmured a prayer, and a miracle happened. Within minutes, Nkechi's fever broke, and her skin, once blackened by the disease, returned to its natural hue. The villagers were in awe. Word spread quickly, and soon people from surrounding villages began to arrive, seeking Pastor Adama's healing touch. But with every miracle came a price. Pastor Adama's powers were undeniable, but there was something strange about them, something that didn't sit right with the villagers. He never asked for money or offerings, but those who were healed often found their lives marked by an inexplicable emptiness, as if they had given away a piece of their soul in exchange for their health. Some said they felt like shadows of their former selves, with no memory of what happened during their healing. Despite these whispers, the miracles continued, and the villagers saw Pastor Adama as their savior. He became a figure of reverence, someone who could do no wrong. But beneath his calm exterior, he was harboring a dark secret, one that not even the most devoted villager could have imagined. What the villagers didn't know was that Pastor Adama's powers came from an unholy source. He had struck a deal with an ancient spirit, an evil force that thrived on human suffering. For every life he healed, a piece of his own soul was claimed by this spirit, and the more people he healed, the stronger the spirit became. Adama had made this pact long ago, desperate to save his family from a deadly plague that had wiped out everyone he loved. In exchange for his family's salvation, he had given up his humanity and bound himself to the spirit. The more he used his powers, the more the spirit fed on him, twisting his very essence until he became a shell of the man he once was. As the months passed, the village began to change. The miracles continued, but so did the strange happenings. People who were healed would begin to act out of character, becoming consumed by greed, jealousy, and anger. They turned on one another, accusing their neighbors of witchcraft and betrayal. The peaceful village was now a place of discord and suspicion. One night, a young man named Obi, who had once been Pastor Adama's most devoted follower, grew suspicious. Obi had watched his family members be healed by the pastor, but they were never the same. He noticed the strange emptiness in their eyes, the way they looked at Pastor Adama with an almost fearful reverence. Obi decided to investigate.
He followed the pastor one evening as he went into the woods, where the villagers rarely ventured. There he witnessed a shocking sight. Pastor Adama, his face twisted with pain, stood before a dark garnered tree. The air around him shimmered with an unnatural energy, and the ground seemed to pulse with dark life. He began to chant in a language that was not human, his voice rising in a crescendo. Suddenly, a figure appeared, a shadowy, formless creature that seemed to float above the ground. It was the spirit, feeding off Adama's soul. The pastor's body trembled, but he continued the ritual, as if he could not stop. Obi's heart pounded in his chest. The truth was more horrifying than he could have ever imagined. Pastor Adama's powers were not from God. They were from a dark force that thrived on the suffering of others. The village was not being saved, it was being damned. Obi tried to confront Pastor Adama the next day, but the pastor dismissed him with cold eyes, warning him to leave the matter alone. But Obi couldn't let it go. He knew the villagers would never believe him, but he had to try. As the sickness continued to spread, Obi's fears became reality. A group of villagers led by one of Adama's former followers set out to confront the pastor. They had become disillusioned with the constant miracles, the increasing strangeness of the healed villagers, and the growing tension within the village. They wanted to expose the truth and free the village from its torment. In a dramatic showdown, Obi and the group confronted Pastor Adama in front of the villagers, revealing the dark secret of his powers. The pastor, his face twisted in fury, attempted to silence them with his supernatural force, but it was too late. The villagers, now filled with a mix of rage and fear, turned on him. Some tried to defend him, but most were repulsed by the revelation of his true nature. In the chaos that ensued, the spirit, sensing its control slipping, turned on Pastor Adama. The ground beneath him cracked open, and the dark force that had once given him power now consumed him. His body twisted and contorted, and a terrible scream echoed through the village. In his final moments, Pastor Adama was swallowed by the very force he had embraced, his soul forever lost to the darkness. The villagers, now free from the influence of the pastor's curse, rebuilt their community, but the scars of what had happened would never heal. The sickness that had plagued them began to fade, but the emotional toll remained. Those who had been healed could never forget the emptiness they felt, the price they had paid for their salvation. The village of Edeh would never be the same. And as for Pastor Adama, his name was whispered in the dark corners of the village, a warning to all who sought power without understanding its cost. The curse of greed, betrayal, and ambition had claimed him, just as it claimed so many before him. The village, though healed, would always carry the shadow of the pastor's dark secret, a reminder that some powers are best left untouched.